Thanks for being back with us as we continue to follow breaking news. A terrible crash today on I-35 in Oklahoma City between Britton and Hefner involving an OHP trooper, a mother, her 4-year-old child, all of them, Jessica, killed in this crash.
And we're taking you live right now to the scene where there is a massive law enforcement presence right now as authorities are about to take the body of Trooper Vernon to the medical examiner's office. We just saw moments ago his body looked to be in a casket with an American flag draped over it and was put in the back of a vehicle. You can imagine what this scene is like right now for his brothers and sisters in blue. You see firefighters, police officers, troopers, all there on scene right now. This was a beloved member of the Oklahoma Highway Patrol serving for nearly 20 years who died in this terrible crash off I-35 in between Britton and Hefner today. And this crash, Evan, happened hours ago at 11:30 this morning.
It did. What we're hearing right now is that the mother and her 4-year-old child were in a small SUV going south on 35, where there was something that fell off the back of a trailer ahead of them, some sort of heavy machinery perhaps. The mother tried to swerve to avoid it, ended up losing control, going through the center median, the center divider. There's a cable guard there that she went through, and essentially ended up hitting the Trooper Brake head on, who was going northbound at that time. Again, all 3 people involved that were in those vehicles have died. We know that Trooper Brake, Jess, was a father of 2 kids, a husband. He married with a wife, and so this is incredibly sad on so many levels. We do not know the identities right now of the mother and the 4-year-old child. We will, of course, learn more information as this goes, but we're seeing this procession now where everybody in law enforcement coming together to pay their respects and lead the transfer of his remains to the medical examiner's office.
Hearts are incredibly heavy right now as loved ones are mourning the loss of this trooper, as well as the mother and her 4-year-old child. We're hearing from the Oklahoma Highway Patrol saying that Trooper Brake proudly served with them for nearly 20 years, a significant amount of time with Troop S, the Commercial Motor Vehicle Enforcement. And they said that after his graduation ceremony, he served with Oklahoma County and Logan County as well. And as Evan said, you just think of his family right now, leaving behind a wife and 2 children as well, grieving the loss of their loved one, husband and father today. They say that their thoughts and deepest sympathies right now are with the family as well of the other driver involved. And again, we're still waiting on the identities of the 2 of them. As you look live, another picture here from this scene, I'm just kind of showing, the magnitude of this crash here. And it's just, it's a difficult day here in Oklahoma.
From what we are hearing, and we're going to keep you on the air here as this procession begins to get going, but this is where it happened. I think what you're seeing there obviously is a vehicle. I think that might have been the SUV behind that the mom's SUV. Huge debris field from what we're hearing. We're also hearing a bit already about Trooper Brake from people who worked with him. He was a large man, 6'4", 6'5". That he was described by Logan County Sheriff as a mountain of a man, but a teddy bear. Just the sweetest man and somebody who everybody could really rely on. They said he loved his family, loved his kids. And so this is a loss that's going to be really heartfelt, I think, across the community, multiple communities where he worked in Logan County and Oklahoma County throughout his career.
A huge loss today in Oklahoma. And as his loved ones are mourning his loss, they're also there on scene investigating this. This is a crime scene. And right now, authorities are looking for the vehicle that dropped this piece of heavy equipment. They believe that fell off of perhaps some sort of trailer, fell onto the road, and that they believe is what caused the woman to swerve and end up crossing that cable barrier and into oncoming traffic, hitting the trooper.
We believe that Trooper Brake's remains are inside that van that has just been loaded up. His remains were in what looked like it might have been a casket. It was draped with an American flag. This happened when they loaded him up just before we came on air, so we can describe it to you. Again, you see the giant law enforcement presence right now. Trooper Brake graduated from the 56th OHP Academy. This was back in 2006. Again, he's been with the department now for nearly 20 years. Somebody who's worked in multiple different areas within the OHP. He started as a road trooper. He then moved on to size and weights, commercial motor vehicle type stuff. And so he was on the job today, just driving north, as we have seen so many times. It can happen to anybody at any time. You never know when you're on the road, and just wrong place, wrong time in so many ways is what it's looking like.
And as we zoom in here, you can see this procession getting ready. Those are Oklahoma Highway Patrol, or I should say Oklahoma City police officers on their motorcycle units. They are lined up and taking off right now as they will lead this procession with this vehicle to follow, with the body, the remains of Trooper Vernon Brake behind them, headed to the medical examiner's office right now, which is off of 23rd Street. This scene where the crash happened, I-35 in between Western and Hefner. And you can see the procession as it begins right now.
It's not a very long drive from where they're going. The medical examiner's office on 23rd. It's near the governor's mansion, if you're familiar, so not far from the state capitol. And so they have a couple miles, 2-3 miles perhaps, until they can get to that spot, but they're going to take their time. Clearly, we have multiple different agencies who are represented here. Of course, we saw the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. That right there is local motorcycle police. There's going to be other agencies as well. As anytime you see, I mean, we've covered, Jess, tragedies such as these before, and every time you can count on law enforcement members who consider themselves a brother and sisterhood coming from multiple counties away, sometimes states away, to come and pay their respects in a situation such as this. And so I won't be surprised when we find out who is involved in this procession, and it ends up being a rather large list of agencies.
They understand the risk, the sacrifice it takes when you serve in law enforcement like this trooper has for so many years. And Evan, you mentioned a little bit about what we've learned about him,
Man.
just a kind of a teddy bear of a man. Someone sent me a picture of him dressed in a bunny suit for Easter, at Children's Hospital. And it said that he brings a ton of joy to kids at the hospital there, and just made it fun for kids as an Easter bunny.
He showed up as a 6'5" Easter bunny, and you know the kids loved that.
And it's just, I mean, it's a heartbreaking loss all the way around. And when you look at this vehicle, just a mangled mess. And a mother and child were in that vehicle as well. And again, we're waiting to learn about them and to hear their story as well. And certainly everyone is heartbroken over the loss of these 3 folks today, including an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper.
As you see, they're going south now past Frontier City. Just give you a little bit of a reference point as to where they are as they head south. I believe they'll probably, will they go to 23rd or perhaps I-44? You know, there's multiple ways to get there from this point, but they're going to keep going south. As you see right now on your screen, that is Trooper Vernon Brake. 20 years on the force. I can only imagine the amount of different things that he was involved in throughout his career, obviously working in very different ways. And it was a random, it was a woman swerving to avoid something in the road that ended up leading to this today.
And we will continue to learn more about him and his legacy serving in our state for decades in law enforcement. I do want to let you know that that area, as you saw, it is still a crime scene. There's still a massive police presence, and I-35 is shut down in both directions. You were just asked to avoid this area altogether. I mean, people were stuck in traffic for a very long time today there, and at this point, they're being diverted off onto the side roads, the service roads. And you can see another look at this procession as the motorcycle officers lead this procession of a trooper who will be greatly missed in our state.
On a personal, on a professional level. This leaves a big hole, and Jess, I'm glad you also mentioned as well, as we pay our tribute right now to this trooper, there's going to be more stories to come, because there was another family that is going to be broken today. And it's horrific what happened there. You see the records, you see the damage, the fragility, of life. And so we're glad that you're here with us as we pay our respects to this trooper who was killed today in the line of duty after 20 years on the job.
And this is a trooper who dedicated his time to motor, to traffic enforcement on the roads.
Right.
And to see that is how he passed, as he was working today in the line of duty as he was killed in a terrible crash.
So what's happening now? Obviously, as you mentioned, I-35 is probably going to continue to be shut down because it's a crime scene, and investigation is going to be underway. If your travels lead you to I-35 today, just keep that in mind. You're going to want to check and make sure that the highway is open. In fact, I sent a text to a friend who I know drives home on I-35.
Yeah.
I said, I know it's hours from now, but it may not for sure be open by that point. So keep that in mind. There's the investigation going on into exactly how this started. Again, they were asking during an earlier news conference today, asking if anybody knows anything about this vehicle that might have dropped the piece of equipment or something off a trailer onto the road. There was a question, did the person stop and retrieve that and then take off? Did this happen without the person who dropped that even knowing about it?
Right.
Things can fall off of big trailers without anybody know about it. And so as we see another look here, again, we are looking north as this procession is coming south on 35 towards the medical examiner's office near the state capitol and the governor's mansion, carrying the remains of State Trooper Vernon Brake.
It's heartbreaking to watch this procession as it makes its way through on this interstate that's been shut down, where this officer lost his life, this trooper lost his life. You see the multiple agencies there showing up to pay their respects and to honor this trooper as they take him to the medical examiner's office right now. If you were in that area, Evan, you mentioned the investigation, any little bit of information could help out troopers. So if you were in that area this morning, you saw something, maybe you're not sure it was a big deal, call and let them know. Let them know what you saw, as they are working to find a vehicle that may be a part of this as well. As our camera kind of pans around, you can see just continuing to follow this procession along this route there to the medical examiner's office off 23rd.
And you can just barely see it on the left side of your screen right now, but you see the traffic that is backed up going northbound. That's going to be a problem and a mess for a long time. So we will tell you, though, that behind this procession, we're told that they will be opening up I-35, at least in some capacity, southbound. So that will reopen at least a lane or two, is what I'm being told. I'm not sure if the entire southbound will be open at this point, because I can understand if they still need a lane for that investigation. But southbound traffic on 35 will reopen. In fact, you can see there some vehicles moving south. Those look like they are not law enforcement vehicles. They are following slowly behind. And northbound traffic, it looks like, is going to be snarled for quite some time, as they all have to filter in and eventually get off on those frontage roads, which thankfully are there in that area. That's very helpful today, but it's very slow.
I-35, a major thoroughfare, traffic from all over that it's making its way, just making its way sometimes through Oklahoma, so causing a big backup. I mean, if you think about the time, it started around 11:30 this morning, so it's been 3.5 hours, and it doesn't look like, I mean, there's still a large presence out there right now. So if you know anyone, as Evan, you did the same thing, who will be making their way home in just a few hours, just let them know to stay out of that
And not only
area.
is that a convenience for them, it's kind to let them know, hey, don't want to drive into a traffic jam, but it also helps out, the least amount of people that we can have in that area today is going to be helpful to law enforcement, who obviously have a big job to do with a heavy heart that they will be doing that job with. As we take one more look here at the scene, that right there on the left side, as soon as this clears, That, we believe, is the SUV, yes it is, of that Trooper Vernon Brake was driving at the time. They were about to tow it away from the scene. We saw that mangled, smaller white SUV that had crossed the center line and collided with Trooper Brake's vehicle. But that right there was the SUV that Trooper Brake was in when he was hit and killed.
If you are just now joining us, we've been on the air for several minutes at this point, and let's recap exactly what we know. This is the vehicle that Evan was talking about a moment ago, just the smaller SUV involved in the crash, as well as Trooper Brake's trooper patrol vehicle that you saw a moment ago that they're going to be towing. So this happened around 11:30. It was a mother and a young child, a 4-year-old, in that white mangled SUV. Authorities believe that the mother swerved to miss something in the road, that something may have fallen off of a vehicle, perhaps a trailer, and the mother swerved to miss it and crossed the center barrier there on I-35, was headed southbound and crossed into oncoming traffic. And Trooper Vernon Brake, who's been with the department for decades, just driving along, working today, and he was hit in an instant head on. Both the trooper as well as the mother and child died there on the scene. And as you look at just the aftermath
this is awful.
It's horrific to think about what they were experiencing. But at this point, there is still an investigation that's underway. It's a crime scene. The loss of 3 people today, a trooper, a mother, and a child. And right now, authorities are looking for this vehicle that may have dropped something into the road. So if you saw something, if you know something, please contact authorities.
You know, Jess, when I was, we were reviewing what had happened today, we were preparing to come on with information to share with you guys, our viewers. I asked, well, what type of vehicle was it? Asking about the mother's vehicle. And the answer was, we simply don't know. And when you see the vehicle, you can understand where, from our perspective, we really have no idea the make and model of that vehicle. And you're seeing the amount of people it's taking. It's not just law enforcement on scene. There's road crews. There's people who, they're having to work in this horrific site where people lost their lives. And our hearts go out to those people having to do that job. I can't imagine how hard that is. It's hard just talking about it here inside a TV studio, but they're there doing what they have to do, and they're going to have to live with that memory as well.
Yeah, that vehicle, it's almost unrecognizable. Seeing it in the aftermath of this crash right now, and our hearts just go out to everyone involved there on the crime scene, investigating, working this crash, but certainly the loved ones, the friends, the co-workers, and of course the family members. We don't know much at this point about the mother and child, but that alone, it just breaks your heart to hear that a mother and a 4-year-old died on Oklahoma roads this morning. And then, of course, the trooper, Vernon Brake. We know that he leaves behind a wife and 2 children, and it's hard to fathom what they're going through at this moment, and what that phone call, or that, I would assume, meeting face-to-face was like for this family who, when you have a loved one who works in law enforcement, there's a risk that comes with it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you don't expect to ever get that knock on your door.
No. And what makes this, in a way, as we take a look here, this is a different shot. This is at 23rd and Kelly. This is where we're still on the air here because we want to be on the air when the procession reaches its journey. This is near the medical examiner's office at 23rd and Kelly. And so we're staying on the air for that reason. But, I was talking about when what makes it almost even more difficult is just the randomness of this sort of thing. What happened to Trooper Vernon Brake was, when it comes down to it, as it's being reported right now, just a horrible, random, horrific traffic collision.
That could have happened
to
anyone.
Literally anyone. And that's difficult in its own way.
Yes, and that's what I was thinking of as I was driving to work on the highways today.
Yeah.
It can happen in an instant, and that's why you always hear people say, hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, because you never know when things could go wrong. Right now, we do have a crew at the medical examiner's office They are awaiting the arrival of the procession. And of course, we still have a crew there at the scene of this crash as they are working to load Trooper Vernon Brake's Oklahoma Highway Patrol SUV onto the back of that tow truck. And they will begin to clear this scene. It could still take some time as they continue to investigate. It's been several hours at this point, and we're not sure when they'll be able to clear the interstate. It's been about 3.5 hours since 11:30, but they're starting to load the trooper's vehicle there,
Right.
and of course, the other vehicle that's just really just unrecognizable at this point. Evan, you said that they may get to a point here soon where traffic might be able to open up at least on one part of the highway.
So southbound traffic, we believe that behind the procession, they were opening up that southbound 35 traffic behind it. And so we saw vehicles kind of following slowly behind that law enforcement procession, where they were, of course, taking the remains of Trooper Brake to the ME's office. Behind that, the traffic, we do believe, is going to be moving. But as you see there, so we have not just, that's the northbound lanes that we're looking at, where all the debris is in the road and the mangled wreckage of that small white SUV. Across the grassy median, I believe that is southbound 35, and I still don't see anything there. So what I believe is probably happening right now is that they have probably moved people onto the frontage road, and then they're bringing them back onto southbound 35 around that scene, just so they can continue to give them a little bit more time.
From what we understand, the procession has arrived there at the medical examiner's office. You saw just a moment ago an Oklahoma Highway Patrol SUV turn in. We'll see if we can get our crew ready there. But we do know it was led by several Oklahoma City Police motorcycle officers, as well as other Oklahoma Highway Patrol vehicles, taking the remains, the body of Trooper Vernon Brake to the medical examiner's office as this investigation continues. And it may take a while, as it may take 24 hours before we learn the identities of the mother and the child. Sometimes it just takes time. We don't know at this point if their loved ones have been notified of their passing.
And that is always something that we will always wait for. And law enforcement, they are always very good anytime that there is some sort of, no matter what it is, if somebody loses their life or even if somebody's badly hurt, they will hold back on releasing personal information, names, ages, all that, until they can be assured that the families have been notified.
Okay, so this is actually the procession arriving. And you see they're blocking off this intersection. Let's see if we can get the exact location of that intersection there.
Trying to clear people out right there, yeah.
Right, 23rd and Kelly, and you can see the motorcycle officer clearing it out as this procession now makes its way through the intersection. And we should be seeing the vehicle right there, we believe, carrying the late Trooper Vernon Brake, with an American flag draped over the coffin, or wherever they had him in to take him to the medical examiner's office. And you can see all of the law enforcement vehicles with their lights on, flashing, and it looks like maybe even more have joined in at this point. I'm not sure, as they continue to make their way and pull up there on scene at the medical examiner's office.
This is something that we're going to continue to cover in a multiple of ways in the hours to come, the days to come. Obviously, there's lots of angles on this. We're going to continue to follow it here on air. We have our 4 o'clock newscast starting up here in just a little less than an hour. And of course, the very latest you can always count on finding on KOCO.com, the KOCO app, our social media pages on Facebook and Twitter, everything. We will continue to cover this closely as you continue to follow. Again, 3 people killed today in a head-on crash on I-35, an OHP trooper, Vernon Brake, a mother, and a child at the age of 4.